All right. Hello, everyone. Welcome to LinkedIn Literacy. And let me turn off this music so people can hear me. How's that? And music's not going off. Lovely. All right. Never a dull moment on LinkedIn Live.
Yeah.
All right, let's try this again. Hello, everyone. Welcome to LinkedIn Literacy. It is Americo Shelley and our guest, Brooke, who will introduce formally in just a second. Thank you, everyone, for joining us. If you are joining Team Live, be sure to drop in the comments where you're joining us from. And as always, the comments and the live chat, we invite anyone to ask any questions as we go along. Now, this is episode. Have we hit double digits yet? I think that's our next one coming up.
I think so.
All right, so this is episode number 9, and I am super excited to have this is like almost like a Hollywood style guest. You feel like a celebrity, Brooke, because I sure feel like I have a celebrity here with me. I see you on YouTube, I see you on LinkedIn, and I am truly humbled that you agreed to join us.
Thank
Welcome
you.
to the stage. Why don't you share with our audience who you are, who you serve, and all the great things that you do before we get started?
Okay, great. So I am a LinkedIn strategist. I focus specifically on LinkedIn, and I help everyone from solopreneurs up through multinational corporations to basically have a fun and responsible and completely sustainable presence on LinkedIn that will attract their next client. So, I'm all about the practical proven tips. I really am. And not the, okay, the best practices that, you'll just kill yourself in the process of doing. There's lots of that out there, and I'm not about that. I'm about the practical stuff. So, yeah.
Yeah, listen, I've learned a lot from you. I'm not gonna lie. And you and I cross paths with what we call the LinkedIn effect, similar to with Shelley. And before we get jump into that, why don't we give Shelley an opportunity to introduce herself? She is my co-host, joining me from Reno, Nevada. Shelley, why don't you share for our first-time listeners who you are and what you're up to on LinkedIn?
Well, hello. Thank you, Americo. And first, I want to say how excited I am as well to have Brooke with us this afternoon. And so, my name is Shelley Spence, and I do LinkedIn coaching for professionals, very similar to Brooke. I help solopreneurs, executives, companies, and I do give them the best practices. I give them the tools to create their presence and be able to whatever it is they're wanting to attract, whether it's for recruiting purposes or they're wanting clients or candidates. I make it simpler for them to attract what they're looking for.
Fantastic. And before we jump into a little bit about myself, why don't we welcome those who are joining into the live chat? Our friend David, who always always welcome and always first. That's fantastic. Thank you for your loyalty, David. Friend Meryl, Lisa, thanks for joining us. And as you join, feel free share where you're coming from, and don't be shy. Ask your questions. If we have time, we'll also drop the link in the chat and bring people up on stage. Um, I am Americo. I am a customer experience coach. So, what does that mean for many people? Customer experience kind of leans people into thinking customer experience, but hey, I'm way more than just customer service guy. I'm here to help businesses and professionals reduce costs and improve their return on investment by refining their customer journeys, their customer communication strategies, as well as their personal brand. My objective is to help delight your customers, win the hearts of your customers, all while being able to quote more, sell more, and retain more. So that's a little bit about me. Yeah. Now let's jump right into it. This is an exciting hour that we have prepared. I know that I had, and I waited till we were live to apologize to Brooke, because I always tell my guests and my co-hosts, listen, I'm not going to say anything to put you on the spot. And no sooner did I think that, I sent Brooke, hey, do you have any teasers? Do you have anything you want to throw in, just to get our audience excited? That was just me being excited for the fact that you were joining us. And I hope you didn't take any offense to that. There was no malicious intent. I just wanted to get some banter and almost lean into something that I had learned from you about the whole asking questions and keeping the comments going, which is, I guess, the segue I'm trying to create here. Today is a lot about commenting strategies, and we'll probably jump into a few other things. But without any further ado, let's jump into some of the banter that happens. A lot of people have different opinions of what works, what doesn't work, and I think it's comfortable for all of us to say that, hey, here's what we believe works for us. It may not be gospel, because we
Yeah.
know that if we ask 10 different gurus the same question, will probably come up with 10 different answers. But
Yeah.
these are best practices we believe and we adhere that, and when we adhere to them, we know that they work. So I'm going to shut up and let you kick this off, and then we'll bring up the first question onto our slide. All right. So commenting. And I learned this from you, and we're going to carry this through and into our questions. Why is commenting ultimately a visibility hack?
Great. Actually, before I answer that, there was actually a question for me in the comments, and I would like to acknowledge that beforehand.
Absolutely. So why don't we pause
Yeah.
and answer the questions that are coming in real
Yeah,
time?
because it's because they're gonna be more. So,
Yep.
Meryl had asked, who's from Paramus, New Jersey, if I'm a blue hen. I am. I don't know. My connection was just lost. Did I come back?
Yep.
Am I
You're there.
good? Okay, gotcha. Yeah, okay. Sorry. So I'm not a blue hen. However, I can walk to campus. So, because I'm right by University of Delaware. Okay. So to the question, why is commenting the ultimate visibility hack? First of all, it's what I found with my clients is that it is incredibly fun to do. So in other words, like, obviously we still need to, we need to optimize our profile, of course, and posting will help a lot. Okay. But I will tell you, both of those tasks can sometimes be a little bit of a drag sometimes. Whereas commenting, it's like someone says something, you just want to comment back. You just want to have a conversation with them. It's like a natural human impulse. Well, for most people, to try to connect, even if you're an introvert, you crave at least a little bit of connection there. And that's what commenting can do. So because it's fun, that's what can make it a whole lot more sustainable than trying to give yourself a pep talk to do something. And I'm not saying not to post. I'm just saying that you have to lean into the things that are more sustainable, because you can create the most beautiful LinkedIn marketing strategy, but if it's not something that you'll be able to attend to, to meet your daily or weekly or monthly goals, then it's no good of a strategy. It's also easy to do. And I know we'll talk more about this, but someone says something, you say something back like you do a normal conversation. You don't, and we'll talk more about that. And then also finally with commenting, it's just so much more human. Do you sometimes see, people who write a comment and it clearly came from AI? Yes. And that's annoying. But, but most people, it feels like they are commenting from their heart. And that's where we can get those connections, because LinkedIn is, and for those people who follow me on YouTube and on LinkedIn and stuff like that, like they've heard me say this a million times, but LinkedIn is ultimately one big networking event. Okay. And the whole point of networking is to have conversations and meet people and conversations again, and conversations, if I can't say conversations enough. So that's where the commenting happens. And people see it. And I've met plenty of people through some really, really cool people from comments, and great opportunities have come from meeting people through comments. And I know we'll talk more about that too. So I don't know if I just went on too much, but that's kind of the
Shelly,
in a nutshell.
Thank you. Shelly, is that not how we met, through engagement and commenting on each other's posts?
It was initially, and first, can you hear me? Because I know we
Yes.
had
Yes.
delays
Yep.
in my mic. Okay, so it started. We met in Social Saturday, but we were both connecting with multiple people every day. So you stuck out to me because you commented so thoughtfully. I could tell you weren't just commenting just to get a little
Mm,
tally mark on your daily list, and you're thoughtful. You would come back at me, ask me thoughtful questions, and it was like a real interesting conversation. And I like smart people, and I like people that make me think, and you made me think. So that plays to exactly what Brooke is trying to say, is you make friends, right? You find your tribe, right? Not everybody likes to ask questions and provoke thought, but you and I connected, Americo, because we're like people, right? So exactly.
Yeah, and I know periodically I'll get called out on it because as my network and my community grows and my engagement, as much as I want to be able to articulate and engage with such thoughtfulness, comes a point like where do you draw the line? And I know we're going to jump into questions that will answer that. Um, but I find myself at times asking fewer questions to keep that conversation going because I have multiple conversations, which is a good thing. It's a good problem to have because we're not just clicking invite, and we're not just clicking accept and sending an emoji. It's like thumbs up or an AI generated comment. Like, really, tell me why you like it. Why am I getting the thumbs up? Why do you find this insightful? And it's important so that I can understand, similar to what you just responded with. You want to be able to meet with like-minded
yes.
professionals, right? And it's through their thought leadership, it's through their narrative, and through their storytelling that you're able to see and figure out if whether or not there's alignment, right?
Exactly.
So I am going to share an interesting fact as to why commenting not only is a hack, but it is a successful part of my strategy. And Brooke and I, we stumble upon each other's content, and I'll engage with her stuff because I really enjoy what she puts out. And
Thank you.
periodically, we'll have a conversation. And I believe I got my YouTube debut
You did. You got
with
your YouTube debut.
with Brooks' comments and engagement, and that was around the subject matter of commenting, your comment to post ratio.
Hmm.
I personally, I up until last year, I kept an 8-to-1 ratio, but I had to bump that up just to keep I don't know if I'm keeping the algorithm happy, keeping the algorithm fed, but I know that if I keep a decent comment to post ratio, that I am gaining the attention of people. 57%, when I look at my analytics, 50% of engagement where I appear in other people's profiles is driven through my comments. Now, that's astronomical. And
Yeah.
anyone who's not leveraging this or making this part of their strategy, you're leaving a lot of exposure, a lot of your personal authority and your thought leadership on the table.
Hmm. Definitely.
I'm going to keep my mouth shut and let you jump in if you have anything you'd like to add to that.
No, except you know how LinkedIn has been rolling out people being able to see how many impressions their comments are getting, and I think that really will help open up a lot of people's eyes to, oh, people actually see my comments, and I know that, every impression, it doesn't mean that someone read it thoughtfully. It just kind of crossed their eyeballs. We get that. But at least it creates it makes it a whole lot more quantifiable. And I really hope it does change some people's minds about commenting, if not listening to everyone else, us LinkedIn people's advice doesn't do it. Maybe the impressions count will. But yeah, to your point, I mean, these statistics, I mean, clearly prove it.
Yeah, and listen,
Yeah.
when I saw these at first glance, it tells me one thing explicitly, that hey, when I post, I may not get I may get eyes on it, but I may not get the
Yeah.
duration or the
Yes.
what is it, the hang time? What's the terminology that we
The hang
use?
time. I know you're talking the dwell time.
Dwell time. So
Yeah.
I might not get the longevity and the dwell time
Mhm.
on my organic posts, but when someone's uh, looking at your comments, that means they've gone past the creator's post and they are scouring comments, and
Yeah.
you meant something to them. It piqued their curiosity. It leads to profile views, and that's when you kind of open the doors to, hey, let me follow this person because I've piqued their curiosity.
Yeah.
And we'll jump into that a little
Yeah.
later.
But you
uh,
know what? You're attracting the right people also, because people who are willing to not only read a post, but see what's going on in the comments, whether or not they're just reading it or they're commenting back, those are exactly the people that you want to attract the attention of.
yeah.
They don't necessarily have to comment back. It'd be nice if they did, but they don't have to. Like I had a commenting conversation recently where we talked about lurkers, and maybe we shouldn't call them lurkers, but we should call them the silent tribe. It was Tony Ristel I was having a commenting conversation with, and but the key is there are people who read and they watch, even if they're not saying anything, and these are the people who are genuinely interested. The people who are generally interested these are the people getting the attention of. I mean, it's perfect. It's absolutely perfect.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And listen, uh Shell, I know you took a break for a couple of days. You were feeling a little under the weather, and you notice, because you get right in the weeds and you look at the data, and you try to analyze LinkedIn for what it is. And I commend you for all the hard work that you do and the time that you spent to really understand it. What can you tell me, or what can you share with the audience? What do you notice when you step away for a couple of days? And and Brooke, please jump in as well. When you step away for a couple of days, do you notice anything in terms of comments, engagement with your comments, and so forth?
Actually, this time, not really, other than for me, I saw improved impressions. My engagement is about the same, but for whatever reason, and I have my theories, the algorithm is pushing me out further, and that's been going on for pretty much since I got back. So, and I think some of it is because of things I've changed, but also too, during that interim, it started shutting down the video feed. Right. And so videos that were getting a disproportionate amount of our the impressions, I think, that's gone away a little bit. Now, do not misunderstand. I don't think videos going away at all. I still think LinkedIn is investing a lot in that particular media. However, they did away with the video feed, and so I think that there were more impressions to be spread around.
Yeah.
So that was one. I think that's one big change.
And to your point, just about, I don't know, this isn't really quite about comments or anything like that, but in terms of, is video hot? Is it not? And all that stuff. It's kind of like, does it really matter? Because in the end, one thing that I teach people is, okay, there are lots of different formats you can use to share your message.
Mhm.
There's the topic and the format, and what's more important is the topic. And sharing something that's of immediate takeaway value for someone, and there are going to be certain formats that you're going to gravitate towards. Some people thrive on video, and some people, if you get them in front of a camera, they're not going to look comfortable. It's going to go horribly. It's going to be obvious how horribly it's going to go. So why even push a particular format, even if it's the most popular right now? So it's like, choose a few formats that make sense. So when I'm talking with people, it's like, okay, let's go through these formats and see where you would thrive. In other words, you're giving the message and you can give it with more gusto, because that
Yeah.
ultimately is gonna show through. Is it okay if we do a detour too? Because I see that David
Yeah,
Cause. By
absolutely.
the way, I met David Cause very recently through the because of this event. So hi, David. Thank you very much. You had asked about how to respond to criticism of a post or competitive post. We also do banners specifically designed. So in other words, if someone, I'm not exactly sure. I think I want a clarification on that, unless you guys understand the question, because it sounds like it would be a very good question. I think I'm not understanding the question. Is it that a competitor does a post and then they say something that makes you look bad, David, or if you could share more about that, that'd be great. Unless you guys know.
I read the question and I understand, and keep me humble, keep me honest here, David. If a keyboard heckler comes on and decides to add some comments badgering your post, how do you respond to that?
Oh, okay. Okay, got it. I usually ignore I mean, usually 99% of the time you get a good comment, and you're you want to acknowledge it and celebrate it, okay, and respond back. But once in a while you get something and you're like, really? I usually just ignore it, or I say thank you, or sometimes I will respond to it because it will be so obvious to everyone else how inappropriate it was that it probably is the good thing just to kind of take the high road and just kind of thank them for it.
Yeah.
Maybe don't like it because then people are like, wow, David went so far as to, thank the person for, that, even though that was clearly in poor taste that the person did. So yeah, thank you for interpreting the question. I think I was reading it wrong. That makes perfect sense. That makes perfect sense. Hopefully we answer that, David. If you have any other questions, let us know, please.
All right.
And can I add one more point to that real quick?
Absolutely.
Something that I think is important. So I'm with you, Brooke. I either ignore or, acknowledge politely. I refuse to defend myself. I refuse to explain myself. But, these kind of people, they feed off of that energy of putting someone back on their heels, right? And putting someone in that mode, or some of them even do enjoy that combative back and forth. So for me, the driving reason behind why I don't engage with these people is I'm not going to feed them what they're looking for, because if I'm not adding fuel to that fire, it's just going to fizzle out. And that has been working for me.
Awesome.
And it's only happened a handful of times, but it has happened. So
yeah, it will happen. And to Brooke's point, it happens. These are outliers, and you can choose to just ignore them or choose to acknowledge them and just thank them for their thoughts and their opinions, and kind of just make it close-ended, not inviting further conversation. And then there is the third option, which is just deleting the comment altogether.
Yeah.
If you feel, offended to the point where, it doesn't speak to or resonate with who you are as a professional, there's no shame in removing it.
No, because in the end, it's your community.
That's right.
It's your community, and you should have a say in that. So yeah, if something is really, really horrible, yeah, I will. But in the last, gosh, however long I've been on LinkedIn, I think 15 years now or so, maybe 3 times deleted a comment. It has to be really bad. It has to be really bad.
All right, I'm going to jump out of the question and ask a question in terms of comments. I know what camp Shelly sits on. Let's hear what camp you sit on.
Okay.
Engaging prior, before posting, and after posting. What are your thoughts? Commenting?
I understand what you're talking about. So that way, in other words, you're just kind of like revving up the algorithm, so they're more likely. Yes, the whole thing. Okay. Is it about? Actually, I did a whole video about this. Okay. A best practice can only be the best if you can put into practice. Okay. And it would be, in my opinion, for 99% of the clients I work with, it would be unrealistic to ask them to dedicate an hour plus of their time to to the potential outcome of one individual post, which doesn't include the copywriting and the imagery and anything else that went into that post. That is a ridiculous amount of time to spend on that. Now, does it help from a commenting standpoint to, maybe, how do I put this? You're still meeting people and interacting with people during that time. So that does help. But to revolve your whole schedule around it, I think is, for most people, unrealistic. I'm just trying to get people to have good, daily or weekly habits, and then to nail them down to a certain time. I don't think, for most people, it won't work. For some people it will. And I will say, and I'm sure you guys can agree with this, when you're working with clients, there are different answers for everyone. So for that 1% of my client, for me, you know, maybe I'm just working with overly busy people. I don't know. But it's good to have that in your back pocket for that client who will embrace that. For my other clients, I'm looking at other solutions on how we can be consistent and have these meaningful comments and have value-driven posts and make sure their profile is optimized. So that's my opinion on
Well,
that.
to your point, there's no right or wrong answer. I know that
Yeah,
it works really well for Shell, and Shell, I assume that
good.
it's still working well for you,
Yeah.
right?
And again, you're right. It's different for different clients, right?
Mhm.
And so, and each client is going to have a different goal, right? And so, you know, some do want that engagement, some do want the more impressions. So, I've learned that when I stay on board for the hour after, I get more engagement, I get more impressions
Yeah,
over and out, right? Now, I'm not doing the 30 minutes prior religiously, America, like I was before, because I've got a full, 8 hours more data to vote. And so since I'm commenting, now my commenting goal is related to a number, right? And so as long as I'm hitting that, sometimes I'll just jump on and support my post. Now, but when I'm staying the hour after, I'm also meeting my goals for hitting X amount of comments a day, right? And so and the reason for that is, some of it's the algorithm, but some of it is I'm trying very hard to attract more attention, to attract interest. And I do get a lot more of that when I'm just like what we're talking about,
yeah,
when I'm commenting strategically throughout the platform. And
right.
so I can kill two birds with one stone, commenting, covering my post for an hour. And then in between, when I'm caught up on comments, then I'll go find somewhere else to comment.
Right. I am checking LinkedIn regularly. I think it's more that I'm treating LinkedIn very holistically. Like, in other words, how does this fit into the rest of my workday and the rest of my life, basically, and my home
Well,
life and my children and my
absolutely.
husband. So, and then I try to think about, I try to be very sensitive, and I'm sure you do too. And I'm okay with debate. As a matter of fact, I think it makes the whole live stream even more
Oh
interesting.
yeah,
So
no, no,
I'm good with
I'm digging this.
this. I'm not trying to pick a fight or anything. But I'm just sharing my opinion. So, by treating this very holistically, it's like, okay, it's like, if you have the time, sure, okay. And I will say, it's always the best practice, no matter what, when people comment, to comment back as quickly as you can, within reason, of course. I just, what I don't want to do is ever make it feel like people have to live and breathe LinkedIn, because you can be successful on LinkedIn and meet and meet new clients and come into great opportunities. Like, this is a great opportunity right now, just this live
Yeah.
stream. Okay. And you guys meeting each other through, like all of it. Okay. So you can still be immensely successful on LinkedIn while still making it one piece of the puzzle of
Mhm.
your life holistically. So I think I'm just coming at it from that angle and just maybe overly sensitive to that angle.
Yeah.
It's easy to get sucked in here more than
Yeah.
other lines of work, because the whole dopamine factor. You go to the feed
Mm-hmm.
and and all that, and so the doom scrolling, and so it is easier, I'm learning, to be sucked into something here than, like, when I was doing my mortgage thing. So I totally get what what you're saying. I attack it from a little bit of a different direction. I'm numbers driven, right?
Yes.
So I want to post X amount of
Mhm.
X amount of calls. I want to post X amount of posts a week, and knowing that those posts have to be supported for at least an hour after, right?
Right.
And so I post less for that reason.
Yes.
So, and that's working very well for me.
Yes.
And I also want to get in approximately 50 comments a day, including on my own,
50.
right? And 50, yeah. Now, this is not just for the algorithm, right? This is not just to kiss up to the algorithm so it rewards me. There, Shirley, have some impressions. That's not it. But I'm wanting to get my name and my face and my headline out there,
Yeah.
right?
Oh yeah.
I'm wanting to meet more people. I'm wanting to intrigue more people. And I'm wanting the community at large, just not mine. I want the community at large to see, hey, Shelley knows what she's talking about. She knows her shit, right? And so, and the only way to convey that, the only way for me to draw them to my profile, I think it's easier with comments than it is with posts. And trust me, if I never had to comment again in my life, I'd be elated because I'm deep down an introvert and I'm shy.
Oh, I would just, I get it.
Yeah. So I'd rather just write from my ivory tower, hit publish, and then everybody just send me their accolades and tell me how smart I am. But we all know that's not how it works, right? So, but I do believe commenting, in my head, commenting now has gone up a notch and is more important than my posts, because that's how I get my name out there. I get my name out there, and people come to my profile and they can see what I offer, right? Absolutely. So that's where I'm that's where I'm attacking this from.
Oh yeah, and there are different ways to do it. Definitely, one thing I do like that you're doing, and I completely agree with, and my daily goals are different, but they're still daily goals, is to have activity goals. Okay. Because you can say, okay, my goal is to land, 5 new clients on LinkedIn this week. Okay. But if you don't have specific activities to get there, and you may or may not get there. Okay. Or you may exceed it, but you may get less. It doesn't really, but the key is you have to have specific activity goals, because in the end, you can't completely control the result, but you can control what you are doing along the way. So yes, I do have, specific posting and commenting goals. I just don't like to be tied down to a certain time. I think that's also one reason why I work for myself, because like, if like when I work for another company, it's like, okay, I have to be available at these times. I don't know, So
I know, that's where I'm at.
Yeah. I'm a little too free spirited for that. But actually there are some questions here about, what are the X amount of comments per day to better our algorithms? And it's really interesting because the video where Americo did his YouTube debut or cameo or whatever, I did a whole thing where I had actually put out a LinkedIn poll asking people, how many, what's your posts to comments ratio? And, here's where you can go for it, because, the weekly sharing tracker. And then I put everything into a spreadsheet, and I wanted to see if there was like a pattern I could find. And from what I could tell, and the top half of everyone who responded, the top 50%, and I had to base it on number of followers because this is the only quantifiable thing. I know that you can't, it's not perfect, but the top 50% of people had a way higher comments to post ratio than those who didn't. It was like an average of 14-1 versus 4-1 for those who just had a very small presence. And one way to you could say, well, of course, the people who have lots of followers have lots of comments because people are commenting on their posts and they're responding back, and that counts towards it. And that's true. However, if you're putting a post out there, let's say you have 500 connections. Okay, you're kind of getting started, or whatever, and you put a post out there. Maybe it's not the best, or maybe you just get crickets. Guess what? You do have more time. You have lots more time.
That's what.
Exactly. There is no excuse not to comment. There is no excuse to have a really good ratio like that. So it's more like aiming for the ratios. Personally, and you might laugh at this because Shelly, after you gave your numbers, so I post approximately twice a week, and for my activity goals, believe it or not, if I can comment at least 3 times a day, because keep in mind, okay, and again, I'm thinking holistically here, okay, so I'm running my business, doing my YouTube channel, which is about LinkedIn, homeschooling, learning 5 languages, 4 languages, actually, sorry, I know English already. So
I get it.
So the key is, but I will say, even with even that small amount of commenting, I can only imagine how much 50 comments a day is doing. For me, I do 3 comments a day, and one of them has to be from someone I don't know. It's either a post from someone I don't know yet, or I saw someone's comment and I'm commenting on theirs. Like, I want to enter into a conversation with someone I don't know and see. And what's fantastic about this is, let's say you're at an in-person networking event. You see, you walk in, okay, room full of people. You see 2 people at the other end, okay. There's your friend Sally, okay, and then she's talking to some guy. You don't know the guy, but you're like, I wonder if that's an interesting person to get to know. So you walk up to them. Sally, introduces you to Bob. It turns out, and you guys end up having a conversation. Well, it turns out Bob's kind of a dud, okay, but you wouldn't have known that you only find out in this in-person conversation. I mean, in-person conversations are still good. Don't get me wrong. They're very good. But with LinkedIn, you can see their headline. You can check out their profile. You can check out all these things about them. You can vet them out beforehand, and they've already had words coming out of the mouth because they've already posted something or commented on something. So it's so much easier to find relevant people for your goals than it is with in-person. And again, in-person is still important. We still need to see each other three-dimensionally. I'm just saying, This is an advantage to LinkedIn, and it's fantastic.
I agree with that. One thing I'm loving about this session is we have 3 people here that are we're all so excited about the platform.
Yeah.
I become an evangelist. I can hear, Brooke, what's coming out of you is this energy, this enthusiasm. You love what you do. And that's where I've been for a while as well. This is fun, right? So I know that's a little bit of a sidebar, but I had to share that.
No, it's good.
Awesome.
It's good. And like you, I'm an introvert. So believe it or not, like I've had to do things like learn how to make eye contact, ask questions, all that stuff. So I'm very passionate about people who are, passionate. I know it's like such a AI word, but I'm just so passionate about people who are scared to network, and they're scared, or whether it's in person or on LinkedIn, it's okay. And they have this amazing brand and they have so much to offer, and they're scared of how to make this happen. And it's look, I was there too. I get it. And at the end of the workday, I crawl into a corner and just cower in a ball, I'm just such an introvert. So, I get it. I get it.
I love the fact that this conversation is still on question number 1, and we're halfway through the show.
I don't think we're going to get to.
Well, we might not get to the questions because we have some great questions coming in from our crowd and our followers. So David is asking, what's a good question to use with a comment to engage potential clients? A comment for a new connection without that strong sales pitch.
I mean, there's what I like, David, that you asked there was it's, and this is a little bit of a comment hack, and I keep telling myself to do it and I keep on forgetting. So thank you for reminding. When you comment, it is great to put a question in that comment. Okay. And it could be where you're sharing your opinion. It's so, what do you think? Or let's say someone comments something and you have just a question about it. Just say, oh, that's an interesting point. Can you tell me more about it? Or can you explain that more? Or, okay, you said this, but what do you think about that? I think it's more just a matter. I think a lot of times, and actually this gets to, I think it would have been question number 3 if we ever get there. How to not overthink this was going to be question number 3. We're just going to answer it right now.
Yeah.
How to not overthink it? Just don't overthink it. What would, if you were in person, you were talking to each other eye to eye, and it's always nice to ask questions. We know this, okay? What would you ask if you were in person? And just do that. I would have to say, if you're still overthinking it, and I get it. I'm an overthinker. Okay. I get it. But just ask yourself, what would I say in person? And just do that. And that you might be able to answer it that way for sure. Do you mind if I answer another question?
Absolutely. That's what we're here to do.
Hopefully
LinkedIn literacy is all about answering questions.
Yes. Gotcha. Sherilyn, hopefully I'm pronouncing your name correctly. What is your opinion of comments posts on weekdays versus weekends for visibilities to executives? Weekdays do get some more visibility, but here's the deal. There's less competition on the weekends, and people do engage on the weekends. Now I take off on Saturdays and Sundays. I'm very strict about that. Okay. But when if I have stuff going on Friday and then I come into my proverbial office, on Monday, there are comments waiting for me, engagement and stuff like that. And I just kind of catch up there. It's funny because people talk about, the best time to post is Tuesday at 10 a.m., regardless of what your time zone is, which is the dumbest thing ever. But what I would say is this: if you actually look at the charts of how it works, let's say Tuesdays at 10 is the best. Okay. But Wednesdays at 11 is practically there, so it's not like it's, is 4:00 in the morning on a Sunday not as good as, 10 o'clock on a Thursday? Yes. But how do I put it? It's good to have a variety, use common sense. basically. And and also look at where's the time zone of the majority of your audience. If your audience is worldwide and there really isn't much difference, then it doesn't matter when you post. Most of my audience is I like on the East Coast and very close to me, just because I did so much networking before I really, got into LinkedIn. So I just know so many people here. But it's good to have variety. It really is. Again, maybe lean a little more into the weekdays, but you will see results if you do the weekends as well. If you want to, yeah.
Yeah,
I think I said enough.
I get good engagement, good comments on weekends, and people are more laid back. You have a tendency of meeting people who are their authentic selves. They're not that, and I know it's one of our questions. How do you not sound like a corporate robot?
Yeah.
How do you not sound like that stick in the mud? And hey, I'll be the first to put my hand up. Like I try to be as conservative as possible, and I try to balance personality with being conservative, and because I know who I'm trying to address in terms of my ideal client. And for me, it's a struggle, and I've shared this with Shelly. It's like uh, it's a slippery slope. I don't want to get too comfortable that my authentic self, throws people off. It's like, well, wow, that's a little bit of a change in America, in his comment. But listen, there's a time and a place, and as long as you're respectful, uh,
Yeah.
you can be authentic, you can be conservative, and you can balance it. Just look at the premise of social selling. Social selling encourages people to, if take that selfie out in the mountains and tell me a story.
Yeah.
Don't overdo it, because that kind of irritates me, when how someone had an epiphany when they picked up a pebble during their hike,
Yeah.
and it
And this
turned
reminds me of, LinkedIn analytics. The Pebble does. I'm like, really? Does it? Sorry, go ahead.
So it's to answer the questions, like, listen, there's no right or wrong. Just know that there's always someone there to support and answer and engage. And if
Yeah.
there's crickets, there's going to be crickets. Yeah. What did you learn from it? What are you going to do differently?
Yeah.
You can come back the following weekend and change up a poll question, which I get good engagement. But if someone else doesn't, you can come back with a carousel, and a carousel is going to drive engagement. So
Yeah.
there's over 1 billion eyes on this at any given time, and just like radio, people are going to tune in when they're able to, and stick around for as long as they're able to. And sometimes they'll catch your content, and other times they won't, and that's perfectly fine.
It is. It's all about attracting the right people. There's one client of mine who is like very strong in his industry. He has very strong opinions, and I can tell he's going to go completely against the grain. And he's like, I'm afraid I'm going to turn off about 80% of the people. I'm like, yeah, but you only want the other 20%. And it would really behoove him to just be himself in comments, in posts, and it really does. And I find in my old age, I'm 53, so I consider myself old. So I just feel like I'm caring less and less what people think. It's like, what, if I say something, I'm not trying to, I do try to be careful. I try not to offend or anything like that. But if I say something that somehow offends someone, even though I really, really didn't try to, it's like, well, they were not meant to work together anyway. We're not going to, there's someone for everyone, whether it's, in any kind of relationship.
And I'm not going to wait till the end of the show to share this takeaway, because I think it's important. And at my age, which is, I'll be 52 next week.
Oh yeah, you're so old. You're like ancient.
I'll forget.
I win.
I forget why I'm here. Like, who are you guys?
So here's the thing. You look at the three of us, diverse and rich in skills, and a passion for all things LinkedIn.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll post, and I'm not afraid to say it, I'm on here 7 days a week.
What?
Yeah. Yeah. And often it might even be twice a day for 7 days. Of course, I'll schedule most of it. I am not entrenched in this all day.
Yeah.
But hey, it works for me. It gets my audience in different time zones. It catches people at different times of the day. And at some point, people tell me, it's like, wow, I can't log in without seeing your face. I go, perfect. So my awareness campaign is working, right?
Yes.
And then you whittle it back and you try to zero in. And some days, I haven't gone 2 consecutive weeks where I've gone 2 days back to back without posting. It just isn't in me. I enjoy, and there's always something like this conversation. I'm already thinking the wheels are spinning. It's like, what kind of content can I repurpose from this conversation? There's just so many nuggets here,
Oh yeah,
right? And
totally. I think the biggest nugget is from Charlene. It says 53 is the new 35. That's what
it
she
is.
says. And I think that is the biggest takeaway that we just got. So yeah, if nothing
Fantastic.
else,
All right,
commenting
so
is like just a side issue.
let's skim through these questions because I know we've answered
Yeah.
many of them on the fly. Here's a great one. Which posts should we comment on?
Mm,
And you know what? We're encouraging commenting and talking about the value of commenting, but you don't just want to stick comments and see what sticks. There's got to be a method to the madness,
yeah.
right?
So yes. So okay. So I would say most people will strongly suggest that you kind of limit your comments to very popular posts because more people will see it and blah 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 blah. And there is value to that because there is more conversation and there are more comments under there and you can find more people. Okay. And so that's helpful. I would also say that if, let's say, there's someone that is in your network who they put a great post out there, but they're getting crickets for whatever reason, and it could be the size of the network, or who knows, or maybe they just didn't have the best hook, but the content there is really good. Okay, I will support them with a comment because this is all about helping each other. Okay, networking it's a network. Like, you help each other. Okay, so I will comment on both popular and non-popular posts. In the end, the two things that that they have in common, first of all, it has to be comment worthy. Okay, so I'm not going to force something like, if I have to go to Chat GPT, then it wasn't a good post. It just, it's not coming from my heart. But the other thing too is that, wait, I'm sorry, I actually have some notes here, and I apologize. I will say I do tend to lean more towards commenting on posts and other people's comments if the person who posted or the person who commented, I think, would be like, is someone that is either already in my network and I really value, I want to, further that relationship, or they look like someone really interesting to know. And I would like to get to know them better. On occasion, I just see an amazing post and I don't think we'll ever do anything ever together, and I'll comment, but usually I try to lean towards things where I can just make slightly smarter decisions to help grow my network strategically. But I think you have to, again, I think there has to be some flexibility there.
Agreed. And Shelly, you and I a couple of weeks ago, we did 2 episodes back to back covering optimization of the LinkedIn profile. And we touched on comments, and I can't remember what episode or if it was a comment in itself in our feed, but the suggestion of, especially for those who are open to work, if you're in that open to work community or persona and you're seeking an employer, I highly encourage not commenting on those company bashing emails, those corporate bashing posts.
Yeah.
It's like, hey, I just got laid off, and here's what I think of this industry, and here's what I think of this person or this
Uh-huh.
organization, and people just gravitate to that. It has that sense of virility, and people, yeah, I hate my company too. They really gave it to me, and it's like, well,
Yeah,
you're
not
doing
smart.
yourself a disservice.
I've
That is
seen
not
that.
that's not the
Yeah.
time
Yeah,
and place to comment, right?
I've seen one person a couple times, and they're not being negative about any one industry or company, but they're on there like, it shouldn't be this hard to get a job, and I've never had a problem before, and it's pretty much saying, the universe is against me, right?
Mm.
And then I go to her profile, and and the banner's blank. Pardon me, my cough's coming back. The banner's blank, right? And it's, obviously this person hasn't done work to invest in themselves. The market's changing. What worked for us 5 years ago is not going to work now. and
Right.
and that just is what it is. So yeah, there's a lot of people. I know when I was a hiring manager and I saw those kinds of posts, I would never hire somebody.
No.
And no, and they don't get it. I tried, and there's some fairly large creators out there that stoke that fire, right? And when I'm recruiting, ba ba da da, ba ba da da, ba ba da da. I don't care if you have a gap. I'm saying I call BS on that, right? Of course, we pay attention to gaps. There may be a great reason. That's just one example, right? But in other words, there are creators that are stoking that fire by making outrageous statements in what I call rage bait, right? They're trying to get people to engage, and it's not helping. It is not helping these poor
Yeah.
people.
Yeah, and
Definitely not.
Sherlyn, yep, and politics 100% off. Yeah, let's not bring politics into
Yeah.
it. Regardless of what administration, what country, what you believe and don't believe in, save those opinions for offline conversations. Keep that out of the social lie, because whether we like it or not, people judge based on how we
Yes.
show up.
Yeah.
Right?
And if I could add one more thought on this, when we comment, it shows in people's feeds.
Yeah.
Shelly
Yeah.
Spence commented on blah, blah, blah. And so even if I think I'm just kind of diving into a conversation, put in my 2 cents, right, and no one's going to know, it might pop up into someone's feed. So I'm trying to be very careful, right?
Oh, yeah.
Anything. And I do follow a lot of funny people, so I'm not participating with their content as much as I used to. But yeah, we need to be mindful that we leave a breadcrumb trail that anybody can follow, right? If you applied for a job and I was a hiring manager, America, I could go to your LinkedIn and I could see every single thing you've commented on and what you said and what you think. And I think it's smart of us. It behooves us, right, to be very careful. I mean, we want to be authentic, but we want to be our most professional authentic, right? And so I'm triple careful about what I comment on these days.
Yeah.
So there's the advice to open to work community members. If you're scratching your hands like, yeah, I may have stuck my foot in my mouth, you can go back, look up your comments, and
Yeah.
remove them.
Yeah.
Right?
Hopefully you don't
Yeah.
have to remove too many, but yeah, for
Yeah.
sure.
All right. Question number 3. Let's see. Have we
Here-
answered
Yeah, we
how
answered
not
that
to
one.
we answered how not to overthink. Awesome.
Yeah, yeah. I think this is like also similar. You just say what you would know, like to not sound like a corporate robot. Just say what you would say in a normal conversation. Again, just don't overthink it. There's and also don't use AI, or if you just feel like you have to use AI to get any kind of inspiration, okay, at least edit like no one's business. But preferably just don't even use AI, just whatever, because you're not using AI in a normal conversation. It's like, okay, you just said something, hold on a second, let me put that into ChatGPT and it'll tell me what I should say back. Would you do that? No. So don't do it. Don't do it on LinkedIn.
The day is coming.
I think people try to do it on Zoom interviews, I've read.
Yeah. I've heard of that, people on Zoom calls and being interviewed, and on a second monitor have you see them kind of glancing to the side to read the script, a teleprompter that's,
and they're like, yes.
Wow. Anyway.
Yes, with my immense experience, I can help you. It's like, oh, really?
All right. So what's your secret? What's your share on how to turn comments into real connections?
So, like I shared, I do have a goal of at least meeting one new person every day. Okay, when I say every day, Monday through Friday, because I'm not America and I take a break. But anyway, but every day, at least one new person, and through commenting, and if they respond back, then I send a connection request. I do it. It's as simple as that. Now, it's there's a little bit of a detour I want to mention here, because there have been a lot of posts lately on LinkedIn. It's like, oh, I can't believe that people send connection requests without a note. And it's like, okay, at least about 2/3 of LinkedIn users don't have premium, so they're limited to the number of connection, notes they can have. So, and I like to see how much I can get out of LinkedIn without investing in premium. So I'm still on a free account because I know I can be immensely successful without, I can be immensely successful that way. But the reason I bring this up is because if you already had a commenting conversation with someone, you like literally just got on each other's page and you're all good, it's natural enough to you could just send a connection request. You don't have to, I think if you put in a note at that point, it would be a little bit overboard. So they almost always, I shouldn't say almost always, but like 80% of the time they accept the connection request, and then I'll DM them and say, oh, by the way, that was super interesting what you said. And, try to continue the conversation that way. But what's super cool is, again, you're meeting like-minded people through comments. You're able to vet these people.
Mm-hmm.
They're already active, because if they weren't active, they wouldn't have commented. So there's going to be a pretty good chance that they will accept that connection request. And then again, I'm sorry I went on that detour about the personalized note, but the point I was trying to make is that you can get away without having a personalized note if you don't have a premium account and you've already had some type of other interaction with them, and you're immediately responding to that.
Yeah, and there's no right or wrong.
Yeah.
I've had immense success with cold outreach. Someone just gives me a like and they've accepted. I've done warm outreach, and I haven't had anyone report me, but you do warm outreach and you hear crickets. Yeah, as far as yes.
Yeah.
And you hear crickets. So it also it behooves me that people come onto this platform and they're reluctant to engage and network when that's what the platform's designed for. But hey, there are people who just want to stick with their close window of friends and their close-knit communities and just want to get along and know what's going on at their workplace.
And
that's fine.
That it is fine. I mean, if that's what your goal is, that's totally fine. And there is something to nurturing relationships. It shouldn't just be, I'm just going to meet new people, because you still have to nurture a relationship. It's not like you meet someone and all of a sudden, you're buying from each other or, inviting to each other's podcasts. Like, it doesn't work that way. There has to be some nurturing involved. And by the way, since we have like 2 minutes, do you mind if I read?
Yeah, go ahead.
Some more here. Let's see. So Sandra says, if I don't have any more credits to send a personalized note on the free version, I interact with their posts and send them a message with a personalized note enclosed. Okay, cool. And then Meryl says, do I qualify as meeting one new person today, Brooke Miles? And if yes, I welcome you to consider sending me a connection request after LinkedIn Literacy ends shortly. Thanks. Okay. And then he says, thank you to both of you, Americo and Shelley, for the valued recommendation. So I will be happy to, Meryl. I will send you a connection request if you don't send one beforehand. And Sandra says, we have like 1 minute left, sorry. I do the message and interacting as LinkedIn only gives me a total of 5. I actually wish they would do away with that and make it unlimited for people to enclose and personalized notes. So I had to figure a workaround. And you know what it is? It is kind of a good workaround anyway. And at some point, David says at some point the note does seem creepy. So I think it depends on the context. And sometimes it can be a little bit overboard, but sometimes it's needed. It really kind of depends on if they know you and how they know you and what the situation is, but it's good that it's there. But on the free version, there are definitely huge limits there.
If you're on the free version and a premium member has an open profile, you can still message them.
Yes, right? It's like according to my rough math, and again, like very rough math, it's about 50% from my experience of premium members have an open profile. So if you see with premium, click on the message button. 50% chance the message box will pop up. Yeah, so pretty cool.
That's a little hack for non-premium members, and you're trying to optimize the 5 in-mails or the 5 requests. Look for those premium members who have their open profile. And if we're not connected, guess who has an open profile? All right, so we are at the top of the hour, and let me just begin by thanking Brooke for
Thank
joining
you.
us today. It was a fantastic conversation, as are all our conversations. But you know what? It's great to have a community that is just willing to give back and help others by sharing their knowledge and improving their LinkedIn literacy. I have a newfound appreciation for this platform, and it took 3 layoffs to realize, hey, why am I struggling and not leveraging and leaning into what LinkedIn has to offer? And here I am now, just kind of going through a pivot and trying to help others lead, support, and develop them into refining their personal brand and their identity here on LinkedIn, to once again plug for myself so that they can quote more, sell more, and retain more clients. All right.
That's the goal.
That's the
Yeah.
goal. That is my goal. Um, I'm going to, as I always say, I'm going to shut up and let Shelly and Brooke take us home.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for inviting me. This was like super fantastic. I love the conversation, and there are different ways to answer the same problem. And I think it's really cool that we were able to have that conversation. It just makes it more interesting for everyone, and we all learn from each other. So thank you so much for that.
Oh, my pleasure. And thank you. And even if we do things differently, there may come a time where, like myself as an example, where I don't have the time to put on the platform. Right. And so it's good to hear that somebody's only, that can only spend X amount is still successful in getting new clients. So one thing I'm learning, and that I hope that anybody listens to our live streams takes home, is we should, above all things, we should be flexible. Right. And so it's good to be open minded to other people's strategies, and there's always opportunity to learn. So anyway, thanks everybody for joining us again. We appreciate you taking time out of your Thursday afternoons, and we'll see you in 2 weeks.
All right. Bye for
Bye.
now, everyone.
Bye.